some light on me. All right. Well, this is straight live from my camera and microphone. What's going to happen in these first minutes are people are going to come in because I just opened it, right? People are going to come in, and then see, here goes the first person that comes in and goes, "Oh my, I just clicked on a live," and then drops out. And that happens a couple times. Some people stick around, but anyhow, I did. So let's see. I'll do this. I'll go to a comment that I had from a subscriber. And so Mel E said, "School counselor here. Can you make a video on how UC and CSUs evaluate international and mixed high school transcripts for admissions? Recommendations for students who are wanting to be A through G eligible and to be also seen competitively as an applicant. Do you recommend they take classes like English, math, science, even though they may have already taken them in their home country? How are international and mixed transcripts evaluated?" Now I see what they're asking. I actually had a limited view of their comment from before. I don't know why, because it only let me see international and mixed transcripts. And so I was like, no, what does that even mean? But I see what they're saying. Like if a student were to come into high school to like basically transfer here and start taking high school classes, but they already have a few from their home school or home country, which it tends to be. Well, I can tell you this. Universities are making the money that they kind of need from students. You know, some campuses can really live off their endowment and what kind of funding is, donated by probably alumni and folks in the community. And a lot of campuses say, hey, we still need a couple dollars from the students. Students that are in the U.S., that let's say that are resident students, they're not paying what, for lack of a better term, the big bucks. But even if we're talking about community college, an in-state tuition might be like $50, $60 a unit. So times that by 12, or let's just say, right? We just times that by 10, it's like $600 a semester, while other students are paying like $370 a unit kind of thing. So, but anyway, I want to cut to kind of what I titled this, which is something about the TOEFL, right? Because I recently found, for one, a list of requirements that administration is looking at when they're, reviewing an application that has to do with international students. And of course, they're going so for the person that asked, okay, so how are these mixed transcripts being reviewed? Remember, there's still a baseline, there's still a foundation of requirements that have to be fulfilled. That's why you asked specifically about A through G, right? The thing is this: if you're you have to have high school transcripts evaluated in some way. Because if you come, let's say since I'm in California, let's St. Odell, let's say you're going to that high school. Um, and you start as a freshman and you're there for 4 years. It's easy for you to take all of the A through G, right? Because we already know, especially the person that posted this is a high school counselor, they said. So there, and this is the thing, think about that. A high school counselor is asking the question, what can students do, right? So that's where you're supposed to be going for this information. And they're actually, a high school counselor is asking me, right? Which, I mean, how many times have I run into this exact scenario? The only scenario I've run into that included an international student, having mixed transcripts is when it was associated with the language requirement. So a student says, okay, so I speak Hebrew fluently. And so I took English as a second language kind of thing, right? But they're also fluent in English. And so they want to use their typical classes as their language requirement. They're like, okay, so I know the language. I could pass a proficiency exam. And so what would the high school allow and what would the UC, what would the CSU allow? It tends to be, as always, it's the receiving institution. It's the UC Berkeley, it's the UCLA, it's the UC Merced, UC Irvine, San Diego, it's San Jose State, it's Sacramento State, it's Cal Poly Pomona, who says, we're going to accept that or we're not going to accept that. And you want to think about it like this, and this just popped into my head. Think about someone translating a conversation. Like let's say someone, yeah. If you're translating a conversation that's 100% in a language you do not speak, that would be like accepting transcripts from a high school that you know nothing about. The curriculum's super different. And I mean, the courses are taught in another language. Yeah. And they have different requirements to prepare them. That would be different than translating something or for somebody that can speak a little bit of the language. And then you're just translating like a little bit. Oh yeah, I didn't understand a few words that they said. That's different because you still have the concept. And what, I'm using that as, it's like this. And that's a lot of ums for YouTube. I'm leaving these up. Obviously, the videos come out smooth because I can cut and edit and all that. And so I say all that to say this: have the student take as many courses as they can from the domestic high school because there's less guesswork that admissions has to do. When you start relying on admissions to then go out of their way to find out what you've done, you're already affecting your, like your likelihood of getting in. You want to make things easy for admissions. You want to lay it out cleanly and in order. Here goes my A through G. Here goes my basically transcripts. That would be A through G. Here goes my letter. Well, not letter of intent because that happens after. But here goes my college essay. And so, do you have it? It really seems like the person wants to know, should you have them double take things? And the answer is no. Um, now, if anything has to like STEM classes, I could see that happening. But if your high school is accepting it, let's say your high school is accepting one that the student has finished sophomore and junior year English, that's fine, and like social sciences and things like that. But when you start getting technical, and I'll tell you this, the technical classes, chemistry, physics, um, computer science, those kind of things, a lot of times they're more rigorous in other countries. Like, just to be honest, um, yeah, plenty of times I've seen folks come to the US with their degrees and they're like, oh, yeah, I kind of have a basic understanding of these subjects, but then they absolutely ace their coursework in the US. And that could be from a lot of effort and studying, but it seems that they had a strong foundation. And plenty of students have shared that there's like less leniency in their when they took their international uh, class and coursework. So, but this is the thing. It's not so much about the A through G. It's about, well, what is your fluency level of English? Um, your test of English as a foreign language. That is really going to do it. Now, I know a few people that kind of started off in the U.S. and they're going to other countries and um, they're using different means to say they have mastered that language. And one of them, it's escaping me right now. It really is escaping me right now. Not the Cambridge. I was. I didn't even know it was a language proficiency test because it gets used for a lot of things. I think maybe it is the Cambridge. Yes, um, the proficiency levels. I see it as Cambridge English, but it's not only for English. International English Language Testing System. Yeah, but they have it. Okay, so they have it for different languages. When I just looked it up, obviously, but when I look it up, it's showing me what I need to see, right? Because uh, English is my first language, so that. But see, at the same time, I got so sidetracked. But what language do you need to master to do well in your undergrad program? It is English, and that's what the TOEFL is for. So you can take an exam and say, "Hey, here are my scores." Now, I don't know what schools folks are into, but let's see. Score 24 or higher. Nope. English language arts. See, they're talking about letter grades that you should have received in English. Basically, if you have not mastered the English language to the point of doing well on the TOEFL, there are usually classes that you can add at a community college that are typically, well, are they free? I've been at community colleges where the classes are free, where they go, all right, we're going to separate the oral or verbal, the written, and the reading. And then they kind of move you up as you go along, and they won't even let you take. And the point of having that is so you have to do well in those before you can move into the written part. I'm doing right now is see there's a specific order. Now I don't want to open the whole catalog. I might. Yeah, let me go ahead and open the whole catalog. Not degrees. Let's download it. 2023. I wonder what the ESL section is. Progression flow chart. Nice. That was almost 101. The flow chart. All right. So there are 5 levels, and this is so you know how at the in higher education they kind of moved away from having to test into English and math, right? They've just kind of taken this multiple measures where they go, oh, what was your GPA from high school? Oh, what was the highest math you took? How did you do in English? All that, right? And then you can just take what class you want. But if you did not take those kinds of classes, then you do have to do, and you kind of have to reach out to the testing administrator, and then you take some sort of exam to assess where you're at. There is a base level. I can't share any? No, because I'm not doing a customization. No. I'd have to do the streaming version of this to be able to manage. Let's see what manage does. Pop out dashboard. All right, so that's not going to happen. I might want to jump off and. Oh no, this is the studio portion of it. No, thank you. Basically, there are 5 levels. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's, let's say, for listening and speaking, there's basic listening. Right, you got to get your listening and speaking down. Then comes the oral portion where you have to actually communicate, and then you bring it all together in level 5. Now, there's only 2 of these that now I'm going to duplicate this. And I think I'm going to make this into a separate video so it's all there we go. It's just like succinct and in one place. I want the English. Oh, lovely. Let's get to this English. Business. No, I want to do physics. I don't know. It just came through right now. If I had 1A, that cuts it down a lot. Introduce, yeah, but prerequisites English 905 or LRSV 940. Basically, you have to get your reading and vocab and your grammar. You know? So listening and speaking at the community college, it actually does not, if your speaking is not great, it does not stop you from taking grammar and writing or reading and vocabulary and getting into higher rated English classes. And I don't know who made that that way, but at this campus that I'm looking at, and I think I'm going to not share what campus I'm looking at because that's kind of, it seems kind of a negative thing that with the administration and the curriculum committee of who put this all together, you're like, well, we'll allow, even if you can't speak, we'll allow you to write and listening and speaking. I mean, to be able to understand the class. See, ESLW. Let's see, let me see what English 905 is real quick. Goes to project 905. 771 905 X. No prerequisite. Prerequisite for basic grammar and sentence structure. Reading 961. Honestly, I haven't looked at these in a while. 961. RB. 941B. And 961. Yeah, so you have to get through reading before you can get into like the grammar piece. Supplemental English composition. Okay, there's a lot of advisories like, oh, you should. Okay, let's see which one is LS, which one's actually required. To get, now think of this, to get into the public speaking, well, you could, oh, sometimes the system rubs me the wrong way. But let's see. I'm making this where, let's see. The minimum score required is a 100 on the TOEFL internet-based test, 600 on the TOEFL paper-based test. That's where you see Berkeley. Yeah, because the TOEFL for San Jose State is 80. So that's, I mean, academically, I don't know how different that 20 points is on that scale. But this really what these lives are for, without any input from anyone. You know, I want to say ramble a little bit, just go on a little tangent. And so I come up with some things that I need to cover in a way that's perfectly easy to understand. And it seems like if I broke down what classes you have to take in order to get into the college courses that are required, like the English, and see that could be useful, and that's why they want you to have the TOEFL, is because they don't want you to have to take those kinds of classes. So the 4-year university, they're saying, hey, you got to come with this TOEFL, right? But the community college doesn't have that. The community college says, we'll teach you right here. And so you can't, and that's why they don't accept the TOEFL, but they'll examine you themselves and say, all right, how much of this do you understand? So I think getting into that is a useful piece. And it took me 25 minutes to figure that out. So I'll probably spend a good 45 minutes making a 10-minute video. or maybe, an hour and a half, two, right? But anyhow, I'm going to end this stream and we'll see. Good old evening.